Hello, I am here with very funny comedian Max Dolchelli, and this is for WMEX Radio and the McHugh Report podcast, and who knows what else? Who
How
knows where
about
else this will end up?
WMAX radio, Max
Oh,
radio?
yeah, I like that Max Radio, Maximum Comedy.
what does MEX stand for, Jim?
Who knows? It's in Boston. It's 1510 a.m.
Okay.
It's 50,000 watts, and it goes on every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Which is
Well, I'm in
funny because
Sacramento right now.
I talk to comedians, and comedians listen to the show driving home from their gigs.
Oh yeah.
I get comments because you're driving back
Oh.
from Nick's Comedy Stop or Giggles or the studio or whatever you are, and
Or a Brad Axelrod gig.
well, I don't know if we reach our signal doesn't reach that far.
No,
Although it's
okay.
funny, he was just emailing me. I'm working for him in a week or so at one of the casinos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, small world. What can I say? So, Max and I met upstate New York.
We met at the Lake Ontario Playhouse when it was a great place to work. I mean, it was a great old.
Right.
It was haunted,
When I first started working there, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever that this guy had found this whole playhouse on the lake up there, and he lived there. I thought this would be like the dream. For me, that'd be like the dream. You have your own little place. You know?
They put us up above. Were you there when they put us up above the showroom?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, we had to go through the showroom to get to the apartments, and to come down from your room, you had to walk through the showroom, and there were usually audience members there. So they did see you open that door a little bit and go, "Where the hell did that guy just come from?"
Yeah, you'd like come out of nowhere, and then they'd kind of look at you. They kind of knew you were the comedian, and you just want to go like get a cup of coffee. You're like,
Right.
excuse me, just.
Yeah. And it was haunted, man. Like that playhouse is like 200 years old. It's an old, very, very
It's haunted with the death of many comedy careers.
yeah, mine.
Well, every theater I work in, though, I swear every one of them is haunted. Everyone, this theater is haunted. Even though you work on the ship, you work on a brand new cruise ship. They're like, well, this theater is haunted. He's like, yeah, well, they're kind of dramatic witnesses. If they hear a creak, well, it's a ship. We're at sea. Things are gonna creak and move.
Although, Jim, I worked back in the old days when I first started doing comedy on cruise ships. It was back in 1979 was my first. No, not 79. I'm sorry, 89 was my first cruise ship gig, which is 27 years ago, 28 years ago.
Right.
And back then there was a ship called the Norway, and the Norway was the old SS France. It was the last of the transatlantic liners. As a matter of fact, I did a jazz cruise on that ship, and Jim, I kid you not, the last night of the cruise, the program read Lionel Hampton, Cab Calloway, Tito Puente, and special guest comedian Max Dolchelli.
Oh, wow.
I was on the same bill with Cab Calloway.
Don't you wish you had that poster somewhere now?
I have the program somewhere. It was just the program. Like when you go on a cruise ship, they have the compass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was like the compass, the program. But I wish I had a camera because nobody had cameras back then. Remember?
No.
I wish I had a camera because I remember talking to Lionel Hampton and Tito Puente, and I'm sitting there next to Cab Calloway, and we're talking. And I'm thinking, I wish I had a camera. Somebody please take my picture with Cab Calloway. The guy was a legend.
Yeah, when I first started, I worked with Henny Youngman.
Oh,
and I
yeah?
wished I could have had a picture with him because I was like, this guy, and of course he's not around anymore. These are like,
no
guys that.
I remember the week he died. I was at the Friars Club, and somebody had a big card, and everybody signed the card, and I signed it. Nurse, take my pulse, please. That's what I wrote. And then I don't think he ever read it because he died a few days after.
I have a whole list I'm keeping of people I kind of met.
Yeah.
For example, I opened at the Lowell Memorial Theater and brought up the opening act for George Carlin. And he walked by me in the hall and he said, walking through, just walking through, like he was thinking of a set. He didn't want anyone to stop him. And
Who, Carlin?
yeah, he was like getting in the, so I like had the respect not to try to shake his hand, but he brushed, he kind of brushed by me. So I kind of, like I could have punched him if I wanted. I was that close,
Well,
or hugged him,
I have a Carlin, George Carlin story.
Let's hear it.
I used to work in New York City at Catch Rising Star, the Improv. Well, I never really worked the Improv because I never got along with Silver Friedman.
Okay.
I kind of told her to go for herself.
Right.
Well, actually, I did. Yeah, but anyway.
Not kinda.
Yeah. Well, you know what? She was giving me a bunch of crap, and it was one of those situations where I was working at Pips, Good Times, Catch Rising Star, and at the comic strip. So I didn't really need to go down to the Times Square, the Hell's Kitchen. It was kind of out of the way anyway. Right. And I wanted to get in there. We all want to work at every club. And she was giving me some crap one night about something. And, I just said, you know what? I don't need this. I don't need you. And then I just told her off. And when I told her off, all the comedians backed away from me.
Of course.
It was the funniest thing. All these comics that were within 2, 3 feet of me suddenly backed away from me like they didn't know me.
Yeah, comedians will never unionize. Never.
No.
My big story for the Improv was when I first started doing comedy, they were still open in New York.
Yeah.
So I got a date. You could call and you could go down there. There was a night you could get on. But, it was like a 2-hour drive for me. It was in the summer. I drove all the way down there. They had like a door. I think it was like one of those Mr. Ed doors where the top opens.
Yeah.
And the guy, I beat on the door. The guy pulls it up and he goes, "We're closed." I go, "Oh, I had a spot tonight." He goes, "Not anymore." And he just shut the door. I was like, "I've been in the car for 2.5 hours." "Not anymore." That's all I got out of this. I was like,
anyway, I was with a group of comics, and I forgot who they were. And we just happened to go into the comic strip in the afternoon to see what the schedule was. We had to be walking by, and we sometimes be popping because Tinkin would have the schedule written out for who was going on, what time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there was no internet back then, so we just happened to walk in, and Richie Tinkin, the owner of the place, is standing at the bar. The place is closed, and George Carlin was standing there talking to him. And we walk in and we go, "Wow, George Carlin, Mr. Carlin," and the guy says, "Oh no, I'm not. People mistake me for Carlin. I'm not George Carlin, but because oh, I'm sorry, man. Sorry." So we say, "Hey, Richie, where's the schedule?" We walked over, and then he turns and he goes, "Are you guys comics?" And I said, "Yeah, we're comics." He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm George Carlin."
Oh, that's hysterical.
So when he found out we were comics, then he became George Carlin.
Yeah, I heard he said I've heard some very generous stories of things he did for comedians, and just was very available to them to help them.
Yeah.
On my particular night when I had the brush with him, he didn't know I was a comedian. I think his manager had told him I was like a radio guy or something.
Yeah. Well, you are a radio guy.
Well, yeah. Right now, you are. At this moment. I don't think of myself that way, though. I still make my,
No, you're a stand-up comic, Jim.
Yeah.
But the Carlin thing. You remember Uncle Dirty?
Yeah.
Uncle Dirty showed me this letter. Uncle Dirty was. See, I don't know the authenticity of this. Dirty told me it's true. Now, Dirty would know because it was Dirty. Back when Carlin used to do stand-up back in the 60s, remember early 70s?
Right.
He was doing late 70s, early 70s and late 60s. You ever see some of his spots on the Tonight Show and at Sullivan?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
he dressed up with a tie and a suit and very straight.
Didn't have a beard back then.
No, he was very straight and he was doing regular stand-up comedy. Now, at the time, him, Pryor, and Dirty and a bunch of other companies used to work at a place called the Cafe Wah. Remember the Cafe Wah?
No.
Down in the Village. It was kind of an old famous Manny Roth used to own it. There was a comedy club called the Cafe Wah, and all these guys used to perform there. And Dirty performed there, but Dirty used to go on the road with the Grateful Dead and perform at the Fillmore East if you look at some old programs from the Fillmore East, Uncle Dirty used to be the comic because Dirty did like that hippie,
Yeah.
like what Carlin became famous for,
Right.
And Carlin used to watch him perform at the Cafe Wa, and Dirty told me that he basically he was Carlin's influence. In fact, Dirty showed me because Dirty he's still alive. He lives down in New Jersey near Red Bank or somewhere in New Jersey. And every so often, if I worked at Borgata, I'll stop and say hi to him.
Oh, that's cool.
He's like an old man. He's like an old beat up old man, but he's still alive.
Yeah.
And shows me this letter that Carlin sent him, thanking him for his attitude.
Oh, wow. That's
You
cool.
know?
That's really cool.
Next time I see him, I say I want to take a picture of it. We
were just talking before I got you on the line here about you had a story about Andy
Kaufman.
Yeah.
Yesterday was his birthday. He would have been 68.
Okay.
Andy Kaufman. Did you ever meet him?
No.
Well, he was famous. Very, because when I first started in the business, he was huge because of Taxi.
Right.
He was.
I remember who he was. I know he's like the father of like kind of anti-comedy almost.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that when he started that the business gave him a chance because he had the kind of comedy where it could have gotten squashed right off the bat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if somebody didn't say keep doing what you're doing, because usually other people, what you're doing is stupid. Stop it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he got a pretty good manager, I think, that said, "I don't know what you're doing, but there's something going on here."
Yeah, exactly.
He had enough pull to get him on stage.
Yeah, but the thing is, it could have easily gone the other way.
You or I would try that once, and we'd be drummed out of that. We'd be selling shoes somewhere within an hour. I've still got my resume. I still got the ink ready to go. I'm still not sure that if I have a bad set, I'm going to be,
Right. Anyway, he used to come to the clubs, usually the Improv, or sometimes he'd come to Catch, and just hang out with but every time he came into the club, you weren't sure who he was because he was never Andy Kaufman.
Right.
He was either one of his characters.
Right.
And he wouldn't sway. He would never sway from what he was. He'd just come
in
and he commit. Whatever he was that night, he'd come in and he became that person. And you couldn't, you never really knew the real Andy Kaufman.
Right.
I think it was 1984, 1982. I forgot when it was. But he died in May. And Pat Benatar birthday was in January, I believe, January 6th. And Rick Newman, who was her manager, threw a big birthday party at a place called JP's. It was a club right down the street from Catch Rising Star, where a lot of celebrity rock and rollers used to hang out there. I mean, big. So we'd go in there and drink and see all these celebrity rock and rollers. But anyway, Rick Newman rented the place and had a big party. And Kaufman came in. We were down in the basement near the bathroom, and a group of comics were sitting around drinking beer, whatever comics used to do back then, in the bathroom.
Right. Right. I got you.
And Kaufman walks in, and he was Kaufman. He wasn't anybody, and we kind of all looked at each other, and he started talking to us like a regular person.
Like a regular person.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And you're like, basically.
And you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, what?
Right.
Am I standing on a trap door?
and we stood there and talked to him for about 20, 30 minutes, and then he, went back upstairs, and we all looked at each other.
What just happened?
What just happened? Yeah. And then he died like 3 months later.
So I guess when he was dying of cancer, a lot of people thought he was just doing another put-on thing.
Yeah. But a lot of people didn't know he was dying of cancer.
Right.
Yeah, but he knew it.
Tony from Dangerfield told me a story about him. He said that he auditioned for Dangerfield in New York, and what he did is he showed up with a van right before his set was supposed to be, and he had it packed with musical equipment.
Right.
And he was running from the van to the stage, setting up his equipment during his set. He starts setting up one piece, another piece, another piece. Yeah. Then he starts taking it off. And when all of the instruments are back in the van, he just drove away. And Tony was like, I never really understood what the hell he was trying to do. And the
You want to
audience
hear
was,
what?
and the audience was sitting there like crickets, like, what is going on?
I'll tell you what even better than that. This is, I'll tell you what even better. I was with Peter. Remember Peter Bales?
Yeah.
Remember Peter being there. We're at the Improv
Yeah.
on 44th Street, wherever it was. And Kaufman comes in, and I forgot who he was that night, but of course, he's Andy Kaufman. He's famous,
Right.
and they let him on stage.
Right.
He went on stage, and he starts drinking. He starts singing 100 bottles of beer on the wall,
Oh no.
100 bottles of beer. Take one down, and the audience is going crazy. Like Andy Kaufman, yay! And he starts, and he's 99 bottles of beer, I remember looking at Bales and saying, "Oh no,
He's doing the whole song.
oh no!" But the audience doesn't know this.
They don't know what's coming.
No.
Like this is a joke that's never going to end. And the more uncomfortable they get, the more fun he's having.
And when he gets to like 91 or 92, they realize, oh no, he's gonna go all the way. And they sat there and watched him, and they're like going, oh Jesus, they're shaking their heads. They can't do anything about it.
Oh my goodness.
And I kid you not, it lasted for about 20 minutes. He gets down to 3 bottles of beer. When he gets down to 10, they start cheering again. They're going crazy. Now they're really going crazy. He gets down to 3 and he says, this is stupid. And he walks off.
Oh, at 3 he walks away. Oh, that's funny.
But that's what he did. That's what Andy was about. He was like that. He was like that, And
I'm always fascinated too. You had a relationship with Sam Kinison that fascinates me because I used to love Sam Kinison. I only know him from listening to him on CDs.
Okay.
And I went to the Montreal Comedy Festival one year, and I had a room next to him, and I think Lenny Clarke were next door, going crazy.
Yeah.
And I had won a comedy contest on. It used to be called the Ha Network.
I remember the
Before
Ha
Comedy
Network.
Central. That's how long ago it was.
I remember the Ha Network. I think it was in competition with Comedy Central.
Yeah, and then they ended
combined,
up merging or something.
Yeah.
But I ended up in a room I never would have been able to afford. And
All right,
I got like a set at like noon in one of the clubs in front of like 13 people. And Billiam Cornell interviewed me or something. That was a big deal.
Billiam Cornell, remember him?
Yeah. And that was my whole. I could hear. I mean, you knew Sam Kinison screaming down the hall.
Yeah.
And I never went down there because I just seemed like I had no idea what kind of debauchery was going on in there.
Are we allowed to swear on this, by the way?
Probably. I'll have to edit it later.
All right, because Billiam used to do this joke. He goes, met this girl the other night who had a tattoo. I knew I was going to get lucky because the tattoo said, "Born to fuck guys named Billiam," because it was such a strange name, Anyway, let me tell you what happened to Sam Kinison. I'm out in California at the Comedy Store. I just did remember the Comic Strip Live TV show?
Yeah.
I did a thing with that, okay? And I'm driving down with Lenny. Remember Lenny Schultz?
Yeah.
Go crazy, Lenny.
No pigs, Lenny.
Yeah, no
more
pig,
pigs.
go
More
crazy.
pigs. More pigs.
Go
Lenny.
crazy, Lenny.
Yeah.
He was very funny.
Yeah.
Another comedy legend that nobody knows.
Right.
Anyway, I'm driving. We're going down to Sunset Strip because Lenny went to the Comic Strip Live TV show with me, and we're driving down to Sunset Strip, and Sharon, his girlfriend at the time, screams, "Oh my God, Sam's on stage!" Because back at the old Comedy Store, you could see who was on stage in the original room.
Right.
There was a window there, and so Lenny pulls over the car. He goes, "You see this guy? You got to see this guy. He's crazier than me."
He's crazier than me.
Yeah. So we run into the Comedy Store, and I stood there and I watched Sam for the first time, and people were walking out on him.
Yeah.
I mean, people getting up and leaving because he would just remember how outrageous he was.
Oh yeah.
It was just crazy, and I can't even do his. Well, people know what his act was like.
Yeah.
Right. So after his set, I've never met this guy before. I don't know who he was. I just barely even knew his name. Lenny told me his name was Sam. So I walked up to him. I said, "Wow, you were terrific, man. You're like one of the most original, funniest guys I've ever seen." And he says, "Didn't you see everybody walking out on me? Didn't you see everybody leaving?" I said, yeah, man, but they don't know, man. If you ever come to New York, I can probably find you work. Back then, I had a lot of connections, Jim Balazzo, Jerry Stanley. Crappy. And I told him, I said, it's crappy money, it's crappy work, but I can get you a lot of it if you ever come to New York. He goes, well, I don't know anybody in New York. I said, well, you know me. He goes, well, I don't have any place to stay in New York. Well, remember, this is 81, 82, or 83. I forgot what year it was. And I didn't know this guy. And I said, well, you can stay with me.
Oh my God.
I said it, Jim, knowing that he would never call me.
Right. You're in LA. Things like that are said. And
Yeah,
it's not exactly an oral contract.
right. So I give him my phone number, and and that was it. It didn't even the whole conversation lasted maybe about 4 or 5 minutes, and I only got to know him for about 4 or 5 minutes.
Yep.
So I give him my phone number, and then I take off with Lenny, and then I think I'm sitting there at the bar with Lenny, and Sam came over and talked to us for a few minutes. But anyway, I fly back 2 days later from Los Angeles, and I come into the house, and then at the time I was married to Joanne. Her name was Joanne, and she said some guy named Sam called for you. I said, Sam who? She goes, I don't know, some guy named Sam. She said he'll call you back. I said, okay. I forgot all about it. So then I made another phone call about a half hour later, and he goes, hey Max, this is Sam. I said, Sam who? He goes, Sam Kinison. Remember he said if I ever come to New York, you can find me work. I said, oh yeah, Sam, how you doing, man? I said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm in Kansas City. I said, oh great, man, you got a gig? He goes, no, man, I'm on my way. Can I still come? I can still stay with
Wow.
you, right? I said, wow, that was fast. Only like 2 days, man. He goes, yeah, man, I'm ready. I'm ready to go, man. But I got my girlfriend with me, Corey. Can Corey stay too?
Oh my
I
gosh.
said, yeah, sure. I guess, yeah. I only have the van. He goes, and my brother Kevin too, man.
My
Can he
brother
stay too?
Kevin.
Yeah, I kid you not. So I said,
Wow.
is there anybody else? He goes, no, man, that's it. Just me, Corey, and Kevin. I said, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Now I've got to tell my wife that these people are coming to stay over.
These lunatics.
She was okay with it. I've got I actually have a picture of him in my house with Corey. And Kevin, his brother Kevin was the brother who killed himself. Committed suicide. And he actually was a good-looking Kinison brother.
Yeah.
He was actually tall, good-looking guy. He wanted to be an actor. I don't know what happened, man. His brother Bill, who was Sam's agent, tells people that he was murdered, but he actually, Sam told me what happened, and broke my heart because he's such a nice kid, and he slept on the couch. He slept on the couch all that time,
Yeah.
He was such a nice kid, So anyway, Sam stays with me for about 3 or 4 months.
Oh my
Man, and I
God.
got him all. I got him all this work. And we were, and there were people. People walked out on him. People weren't sure how to accept. In fact, I took him to New York City, and I remember Rick Messina.
Yeah.
And because Rick Messina had a lot of pull, and he had a lot of power back then.
Right.
And I said, you got to see this guy. And Rick walks into the comic strip. Sam's on stage, and he turns around and walks out. He goes, people will never buy it. People will never buy that crap.
Wow.
I said, I don't know, man. I think he's good. He goes, nah, forget it. I'm not gonna, So we're performing, and I remember one night we were working at a place called the Thunderbird Hotel. Do you remember when AIDS first came out?
Yeah.
Now I don't know if I can tell you this story over the air, but Sam is on stage. So Sam never pulled any punches,
Right.
and he's on stage at a place called Thunderbird Hotel down at the Jersey Shore. And there was a bunch of gay men in the audience. You could obviously tell they were, a group of guys. And Sam turns to him and goes, let me get this straight. There's a disease out there that kills fags.
Oh my gosh.
And he goes, why the hell are they trying to find a cure for it? And these guys jump up and they rush the stage. And suddenly all the other people that worked, including me and the guy who books it, we ran over and we had to protect Sam from getting beat up.
Yeah, he was always like, it's funny though, these guys that take these great chances
Yeah.
and walk people, and some of them find that the audience finds them.
I know.
I don't know how it happens.
I told that to Lisa Lampanelli. We were working together in the Bronx, and she walked off stage crying. I said, stay with what you're doing. Stick with it. Do not, because you will find your audience. And she calls me and thanks me every so often.
Oh, that's nice.
You know?
Yeah.
I wish I had the balls to do what they did.
That's weird because when you talk to me, you say, "You're still doing comedy? Really?"
Mm-hmm.
Really?
You know,
You?
you know what it is. I call myself a comedy whore
Yeah.
because I give the audience what they want
Right.
instead of what these other guys do. They take the audience and get the audience to like what they do,
Right.
like Mitch Hedberg,
Right.
Sam Kinison, and they all become famous.
Right.
You know, unless you're really weird. I mean, there were comics back when I first
Yeah,
started. Like,
I always say that too, like with the caveat that there's a lot of people out there that are strange that are getting on stage, and you see them, and you go, "Whatever happened to that guy?" I mean,
yeah,
it's a cautionary tale because they are gambling, and
right,
some of them become
right.
super hits, but a lot of them don't.
No,
A lot of them don't.
when I first started working at my first time first time I went on stage as a Catch Rising Star
Yeah.
in Manhattan. But after that I started working at Pips. Remember Pips in Brooklyn?
Oh yeah.
And there was a comic
That's
named
where I
Bert.
work with Lenny Schultz.
Yeah, the Pips.
Yeah.
Very famous club.
Yeah.
You know the story behind Pips, right? George Schultz started it.
Okay.
George Schultz was a comic when Rodney Dangerfield. You want to hear a comedy story?
Oh, you know what? Hang on one second. I'm gonna break, and then I'm gonna start our next half because we already did the first half of the interview. So
All right.
I'm gonna be right back with Max Dolchelli. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Thank you for listening.